How do you teach a student who's blind and autistic? What are the challenges? What are the rewards? And what are the possibilities? 2 words, Cody Lee. The headline read, Blind Autistic Singer Shocks the World Again in the Live Show. America's Got Talent 2019. And they were talking about Cody Lee. And not only does Cody Lee sing, he also plays the piano. So how did Cody Lee, blind and autistic, learn to play the piano? Yiyi Ku knows all too well. She knows the struggles, she knows the dedication and the commitment it takes because Yiyi Ku is Cody Lee's piano teacher. And I am so excited today. I'm Glory St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory. And not only am I a Cody Lee super fan, I'm also a super fan of Cody's piano teacher and my very special guest today, Yiyi Ku. So welcome.
Thank you, Glory. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here. And thank you again for the interview, for the opportunity to share Cody with the world.
Well, thank you. I am so excited that you're here. And I want to say congratulations on your amazing accomplishments with all of your students. I mean, we want to celebrate all of them, even though today we're talking about Cody, of course. Now, Yiyi Ku is a professional pianist, and she runs a very successful Yiyi music studio in Murrieta, I think it's pronounced.
Murrieta, yes, in California.
Murrieta, California, teaching students of all ages and levels, including some that are highly gifted, such as the now famous Cody Lee, performing in America's Got Talent 2019. Now, let's start with you, Yiyi, and I want to say hello to all of our viewers out there that are joining us. If you are a Cody Lee fan, just go ahead and type in, yes, we love Cody Lee, and we're anxious to hear from our viewers today. Oh, we've already got some comments here. Rosalind says, I'm in Portugal and I would love to see this. And will it be available later? Yes, you can catch it live on YouTube a little later. So don't worry, you will also get the replay. Now, before we get started about Cody, Yiyi, can you just tell us, how did you get started as a teacher?
I was still finishing my master's degree, and I was doing a recital. So I had a poster up, and some people just saw it, and they just contacted me, say, "Look, do you teach beginners? I have a 5-year-old."
Yes.
So I started teaching when before I graduated, and then I was teaching like kids of my parents, because they knew I was a music student. So so I sort of started, I guess, like most of us, just because somebody contacted me. I didn't go out looking for students. And then I finally graduated. So it was just pure chance. My husband was looking for a job. We got married, and then, I was helping him to look for a job. And then I saw this ad for a private piano teacher at a very, very prestigious private school. So I applied and I got the job. So that was in Christchurch, New Zealand, actually. That was in a long time ago now, but the school was called Rangiruru Girls' School, and then I later also taught at St. Margaret's College. So, having taught at those schools gave me a lot of experience. So everything just went from there.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you have an amazing piano studio full of talented students, and I'm sure everyone is excited and interested to know, how did you connect with Cody?
It was through another one of my students. So Cody goes to the same dance school as my student Riley. So Riley's mom gave my number to Cody's dance teacher, Sarah Fakiki, and then Sarah gave my number to Cody's mom. So that's how we connected.
That's
So
cool.
it was through another student.
Another student. Well, see that it always pays to connect with our students and share the love, right? So that's a great way to really connect and get more students into your studio if you're looking for students. Now, I know you started teaching Cody in 2016, and you were introduced to this musical Savant. Can you explain what Savant means?
Okay, so when Riley's mom told me that, there's this student also at the dance school that wants to find a piano teacher, and he's a savant, I'm like, okay, what's that? Right? So she sort of tried to explain to me. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll look it up later. So I did. So basically, a musical savant is somebody who has extraordinary memory and ability. Like, it's almost born. So they would be able to hear a piece of music and just play it back to you. And it's just all in there. So if it's a relatively simple piece, it will be note for note perfect. With very complicated classical literature, he may have to fill in. So he may improvise certain bits because classical music is just so complex with the chord changes, the polyphonic texture and stuff. So whatever they cannot remember 100%, they'll just fill it in. So to somebody who may not have been necessarily classically trained, they would probably not even be able to tell much of a difference. So it's extraordinary ability.
Wow.
Yeah.
It must have been such a thrill for you to experience that first lesson and realize that, oh my goodness, this is going to be a brand new experience. And I know a question that most people would ask is, how do you teach Cody? I mean, he's blind, he's autistic, not only to play classical pieces, but to take him to that level that he's achieved as the first prize winner of the Golden Classical International Music Awards competition. And there he is performing at Carnegie Hall. How did that happen?
It's obviously he's a genius, but he works very hard. So it's hard work. It's hard work. So in our lessons, in our very first lesson, when his mom Tina brought him to my studio, obviously as a trial lesson, you want to know what they can do. So he played to me Debussy's first arabesque. So it was like, oh my goodness, this is not just a early intermediate level, it's late intermediate, early advanced literature. So I was like, okay, how were you able to play this piece? And Cody is non-verbal, so he can't really have a conversation with you. So his mom would help me understand how he learned the piece. So with a lot of those famous, classics, light classics, you might even call them, he probably heard them from somewhere, the radio, at some restaurant, or even just from YouTube, because they're easy listening classics that people appreciate. A lot of known musicians even know these pieces. So he just heard them from somewhere, and he just basically tried to find the notes on the piano on his own. So I was like, wow, this is 80% accurate. It may not, like I said, it may not have been absolutely spot on at every single place, but it's more or less there. So I was like, this is something I've never, ever experienced.
Wow.
Yeah. So then in that first lesson, I got the score out. Cody, of course, never reads anything you can see. So I got the score out. So we basically just went over the entire piece. And I basically just was teaching him the way I teach all my students. I would not let anything go. If he didn't get a particular note, or if I feel it should be played this way or that way, I would just go into extreme detail with him like I do with all my students, and he catches it. He will just do what you say. So I'm like, this is a very teachable student. So, and then his mom, Tina, really amazing person, amazing mother. So she fought and fought and fought for resources for Cody. So she fought for funding, to have lessons with me. And in the beginning, he was coming 4 times a week because he has such a big hole in his technical foundation, because he was just largely self-taught.
Wow.
So I was seeing him 4 times a week in the beginning. So I gave him, scales, actually we used the RCM syllabus. I started him with the level 6 technical requirements. We did scales, arpeggios, all the technical stuff. And, sort of like the classics that stuff like the sonatinas that he, didn't learn or play, because he just went into those big things all by himself, like the Debussy arabesque. So we did a lot of foundation work, you might call it, in the beginning.
Wow. I watched one of the videos where you were teaching Cody, and I absolutely loved it because he was playing for you, and then you stopped and you were teaching him the expression of staccato and how to attack the keys and come off of it, and not to engage in the pedal. And within moments he went from playing it how he was to listening to you. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when you have a student at that level, they need a teacher at your level, because if you know, have taught for years and you hardly ever play the piano anymore, you're still a good teacher, but you're not, you need to be at that level of a performer, which of course you are, which is where I think Kodi has just excelled because of your talents and your gifts as a performer, that you understand what is necessary to convey to the audience and express them. Maybe you can share with us, I know there was a few challenges that I remember reading that you talked about with Kodi. So one of the challenges was fingering. Can you elaborate on that?
Right. So, you know, according to Kodi's mother, he obviously before me probably went to, you know, other piano teachers here and there, but they never lasted. Probably, you know, a couple lessons here and there, or a couple months lessons here and there. So his technique was just all over the place. So because, you know, without sort of a long-term relationship with the teacher, you can't develop much. So anyway, so it was really all over the place, especially for fingering, because he's such a savant that he hears everything. He knows what note he wants. So he'll just use any random number to get to that note. So you will see, you know, terrible things that classical musicians would consider, you know, crossing over the second finger, crossing over the fourth finger, crossing over the pinky. He, yeah, and there's no hand shape of any sort. So, so we had to work a lot on fingering. And but when I teach Kodi, I never just tell him, look, you just got to do it this way, and that's it. I will always explain to him why. So I will tell him, you know, if you do it this way, it will help you to get to the next note easier. So then you won't have, because he will get to the note, but sometimes there might be the slightest hesitation just because he didn't use the most efficient fingering. Yeah. So fingering was a challenge. Yeah.
I'm sure it was, because I remember you sharing that, you know, you would normally just do this, use your four fingers because they're right there. And then you've got this short one. Like, what is that all about? But the second thing that you mentioned was the unnecessary stretching. And I found that really interesting because normally you would just, you know, avoid stretching as much as possible. But how did he really develop that stretch that he needed in order to play all those intervals?
He has amazing stretches between his fingers because of his lack of formal foundation. So he would do whatever it takes to get to a particular note. If he hears it in his head, he will do whatever is necessary. And because the four fingers are longer, those were his go-to fingers. So for years and years and years, he got used to doing that. So his fingers are ultra flexible between, you know, these two.
Wow.
But because the thumb is short, he doesn't like to use it.
Yeah,
not efficient to him. To his thinking, the thumb is the least favorable finger to get to the keys. So we've been working very hard on, you know, making sure that he uses all his fingers, not just the four long fingers.
Yeah.
So, you know, Kodi, his technique is unique. You know, he's definitely taught me that there really is not just one way to do something. You just got to be flexible. And sometimes he will still stick to his old ways. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's making music. So sometimes I have to just allow it.
One of the things that I found was really interesting that I was reading on your blog, which was so fantastic. Congratulations. And thank you for sharing that blog. It was amazing. I will put the website in here at the end of our interview so others can read that blog as well. But one of the things I remember you saying, and I thought, you know, I never thought about that until I read it in your blog, and that he would, because of course he's not reading the music because he's blind, that he would sometimes, you know, play a note with a different hand than normally we would play it with, like kind of crossover. And that again would instigate a different tonality in dynamics and even articulation, maybe if you're crossing over to get that. So I found that so interesting. So the third thing that you shared with us was the arm and wrist movements.
Right.
And of course, we've all seen entertainers, and I'm sure yourself included, that are very, you know, flying off the keys because we want that action of coming down. So how has that worked for Kodi?
That is still a very difficult thing to do because he cannot see. So his
Right.
fingers do not want to leave the keys. Once he has found where he
Don't
is,
think you go anywhere.
he does not. Vertical movement is hard for him, but horizontal, he has extreme accuracy. He can go from one register to another so accurately, it's unbelievable. Like I blindfold myself sometimes just so I can get a feel of what it must be like for him. And I can't do it. I mean, if I'm very lucky, I will get, from one octave to another, but
Right.
2 octaves, I don't think so, right? But he will, like the Rachmaninoff G minor prelude, that's all over the place, dum, da, 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 right? You got to move from one register to another super quickly. So he has the horizontal geography of where every single note is absolutely ingrained in his heart. So that's how he does it. So it's all horizontal. So vertical movements, it's still a challenge. We're still working on it. But he is getting better. And I tell him it's trust. It's trust. The keys are there. You come up, you come back down, they are still there. So but it is something we're still working on.
I think it's a challenge for everyone. What do you mean leave the keys? It's like, no. Well, I think Cody is he's such a blessing to all of us. And so are you, and as you are to him, because we talked before we went live about the performer, the one that's always celebrated. But today I really want to acknowledge and celebrate you, Yiyi, because it's not just the performer. Yes, they're the ones that are giving us the music, but it's not without the teacher that would ever happen. And Cody is no exception to that. So, thank you. I mean, he's a blessing to us, but so are you. And I'm very curious about how Cody Lee, his journey to America's Got Talent started. I'm waiting for the story.
Okay. Really, I cannot take credit for this America's Got Talent journey. He has amazing vocal coaches. So he works with Miss Noni Hilgeson and Sal Spinelli. So they have worked with him as well over the last 3-4 years. So it takes a village. And also, as I mentioned, his tap dancing teacher, Sarah Fakiki. So, I really cannot take credit for all his success. If anybody is to take credit, it really is Cody himself and Cody's mother, Tina Lee. They worked so hard. But as I understand it, Cody has tried out for America's Got Talent, not just this season. He tried out previously as well. And it's his time, with all his hard work. Finally, the judges recognize his talent. So he's out there now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching a little bit of the video and how you were encouraging Cody to kind of get that piano thing switched around. How did that go?
Right. Again, so when he told me, when they told me he was auditioning, I'm like, great, right? So my first instinct is, okay, what kind of piano are they gonna give you? This is the first audition, not the live round.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we might even have to bring our own little keyboard. Who knows? Because this is just the audition. They don't even know who he is at that point, at that time. So luckily, though, they did get him something better than just a regular, 76 keyboard. So they got him a Roland Baby Grand, but I think it was more of a digital version. So, it's what it was. But of course, he, became so, he was amazing in his first audition. Everybody fell in love with him. So he was about to leave for LA, and he came to his last lesson before he was leaving the next day. So I was like, we should just try and ask for a better piano, ask for a real acoustic piano. We should just try and see what happens. Maybe they'll get it for him. So I made little clips. I said, look, Cody, if they ask you, what sort of piano you would like to have, when you do your live round, just say 9-foot concert grand, right? So I don't know if that was what did it, because he got it.
He
so
did.
I was so thrilled for him.
Yeah. And that was beautiful. I mean, obviously I was there watching and voting and saw him performing on the beautiful grand. And I just went, wow, like it's just, it's his time. And I know that you were able to attend the live performance of Cody Lee at America's Got Talent 2019 in the Dolby Theater. What was that experience like for you?
That really was once in a lifetime. Once in a lifetime. I'll never forget it. I was sitting next to his vocal teacher, next to his dance teacher, Noni and Sarah, and also with his dad and his brother. We were just like, it's like we could not even speak after he performed. It was just so powerful, being there live and everybody cheering for him. It's just like, just no words could describe that feeling. So it was just very moving, very powerful.
Very powerful. And you are an amazing teacher, and Yiyi, I really want to say congratulations. I know there's many of your students have had amazing accomplishments. We are kind of recognizing Cody today because we want to vote for him and and get everyone excited. But teaching piano is more than just being able to play the notes and schedule a class and do lesson plans. It is really about our passion to communicate that mastery and learning to play the piano. It's really what is inside of us, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the blessings about teaching and developing that unique, it's just that special bond that we have, isn't it? You talked about when Cody came to you, and it's not like school where you have a teacher one year and the next year you have a different teacher. It is a bond that takes time to develop and get inside each other's head. And I'm sure when he says, heck yeah, you already know that he's got what you were communicating with him. So I thought that, I was obviously, looking up all the incredible accomplishments that you've had in your career. And one of the things that I came across that really struck a chord with me was the 5 foundations of your teaching philosophy. And I want to share that with our audience because I love them. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Okay. So the foundations of Yiyi's teaching philosophy are, so the number 1 was develop lifelong appreciation and love of music in your students. How do you do that?
Well, not all of our students are going to be concert pianists, and not all of them are going to be music majors, but they can absolutely all have music in their life. So I try to let them know very early on that it must come from the heart. You must do it from your heart and never give up.
Yes.
Cody, he tried. His dream was to be on America's Got Talent, and he never gave up. And look where he is. So find what music means to you, not because somebody else wants you to come to lessons, not because you did a competition and you won, not because you scored 100% in your test. None of that. It's what it means to you.
Yes. Yeah. The second philosophy that you have is help students discover personal rewards in music study and find enjoyment in music making. How do you encourage that?
I do that by providing as many opportunities as I can. So we all know about our studio recitals that we do yearly. And for some of my students, that's what they look forward to every year. Then, of course, I have students that do exams, festivals, competitions. And for some students, that's where they excel. They look forward to challenges and it motivates them to work harder. So I, as a teacher, I would not hesitate to enter a student in an opportunity that I feel is beneficial for them. And in the last couple of years, I've gotten this new opportunity for my student where they perform at a local restaurant, and it's called Gourmet Italia in Temecula. They have been a blessing. So they invite my students every weekend to go and perform at their lounge. And the students just feel so proud of themselves. They get a meal and they have a tip jar. The audience appreciates them. So they feel like, all my practice has paid off, and they look forward. And because they know they're going to perform there, they have to have every time they go, it's a 2-hour gig. So they have to have enough music to play. So that motivates them to practice. And then opportunities like playing at the Carnegie Hall. Again, that's once in a lifetime for a lot of them. So because they know they are in these opportunities, they feel it's rewarding. They feel like their practice has paid off. Because kids, they need a little bit of sense of achievement for them to
Absolutely.
continue to sit in front of the piano every day, day after day. Yeah.
Because you spend hours and hours and hours. I remember when I was working on my ARCT for the Royal Conservatory of Music and spending 5 to 7 hours a day all by myself. And until you have an opportunity to share that, otherwise it's just for yourself. Number 3, which of your teaching philosophies, which is, I think, one of my favorites, is teach students how to learn. That's big. How do you do that?
Well, it's different for every student. So with, our more traditional students, it's not just coming to the lessons. You can learn through watching others play. Even just attending somebody else's performance, you can learn from it. So I try to tell them it's not just coming every week to your lesson. Eventually, they need to become independent in their learning. So I try to encourage them to go to live concerts and watch videos of other performers on YouTube, read about composers, read about the backgrounds of their pieces that they're playing. So it's and with Cody, it's listening. So most of the traditional students, we want to encourage them to read the score and understand the score. Try to get into the shoes of the composers. Not looking at the details, all the markings that the composer puts down. With Cody, it has to be all from his ear. So again, so that just depends on who the student is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So number 4, you have established solid technical foundation and sound musicianship. And I was really thrilled to read that, because sometimes I find too, if I have a transfer student, technical foundation is maybe missing, and we need to have all of that, don't we?
Yeah. So for sure. So that's why in the beginning with Cody, we did a lot of shorter pieces that are maybe only early intermediate level, but to fill the holes that he had over the years, because he was largely self-taught. And again, because he's just so different, I was learning as I was teaching him. For sure, because I had never taught a blind and autistic student. So he really has taught me more than I've taught him. So
that's interesting. We often say that if you truly want to learn, teach. And that's how it will go. And your number 5 on the top 5 is every student is unique and different. And you you probably wrote that even maybe before you met Cody, but now you definitely know it's true. Your teaching style, curriculum, and approach must be flexible and varied in order to suit the individual student's abilities, needs, and interests. Do you want to maybe just share with us, where would Cody fit into this, your number 5?
Right. For sure. But you're right. I wrote those probably 15 years ago now, when I first developed my studio website, which it's got to be at least that many years. So with the more traditional students, obviously we want to encourage the ability to read the score so they can become independent. But with Cody, that's not gonna happen. So I had to adapt. So I basically everything he's ever learned, I played it to him in the beginning. So I don't do Braille, and his mom did tell me that he learned to read music through Braille, but he was not interested because it's too slow. Because he's a savant, right? Why would he want to learn a piece of music through Braille if he can just hear it once and play to you 90%?
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So we never went down that road, because I never was trained in Braille. Again, that's a different subject. So everything he's ever learned with me, I played it to him. So I would play to him so he has an idea of what the piece is like. And then basically he'll be able to play to me back. And again, depends on the difficulty of the piece. It may be 100%, it may be 90%, it may be 50%, it may be less, depending on how complex and how long the piece is. So then we would basically take it apart. So I would play just the right hand, just the left hand, put it together, just the first section, just the middle section. And that's why we started recording his lessons live, because the music was becoming very complicated.
Yeah.
That, I wanted him to have a way to remember what was in the lesson so he could practice, because how else was he going to practice? He can't see the score. So
Right.
that's when we started recording our lessons, so he could just go home and just listen to the lesson. And that's basically how he practiced. So again, that's something that was developed because I met Cody.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it is an amazing success story. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing your teaching story with us today, because we're all going to be cheering for Cody Lee on
Thank
America's
you.
Got Talent 2019. And in closing, I want to share your quote, Yiyi, if that's okay, because I loved it so much. And that is, as the world will once again be moved by the power of music, love that is unconditional, and genius, that is our one and only Cody Lee. And to learn more about Yiyi Ku, read her blog, watch her teaching videos. They're amazing. I kind of did binge watching today, and I loved every minute of it. You can go to yiyiku.com. I'll pop it up on the, I'll add it actually in the show notes here later. And I had a question, because I know you've got the answer. What would Cody say?
Heck yeah!
Heck yeah! If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and comment and share, and we will be making it available on our Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel, so make sure to go there and check it out. And just in closing, I wanted to tell you that my little Tito was so excited because Cody Lee was wearing his red bow tie, and so was Tito.
That's so cute.
So we're like, and so
didn't
didn't want to be left out, because she put her red bow in her hair. So
so
anyway, we're all rooting for Cody Lee. And I want to say thank you so much, Yiyi, for joining me today. It's been absolutely wonderful. I know we had a lot of comments and people asking questions, and I'm sure you're going to jump in there later and answer them, because I just got a student coming.
Yes, she's right here. Coming.
Oh, she's right there. Okay, perfect. So thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing Cody on the big stage and walking away with everything. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Invitation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Vote for Cody Lee.
Thank you. Hi, Nara.